Hey, what's going on? Nah. Sorry, that was James Hetfield, not me. Pretend you didn't see that. Today we are doing a tier list of each of the Metallica albums. I believe I found one on the Tier Maker website, and it basically has every single Metallica album up to 72 seasons, including Lulu and Garage Inc., but not S&M. So we're actually going to go through and put each of these albums in their respective tiers according to my opinion. This is a band that obviously needs no introduction, so let's just hop right on into it. Alright, and this actually looks a whole hell of a lot better compared to my Megadeth Team Maker, because I turned on presentation mode for this. So, without further ado, let's start at the very beginning, shall we? Metallica's Kill 'Em All. This is a really strong debut, honestly. For its time, it was groundbreaking, and there really wasn't anything like it at the time. Obviously, holds a very special place in heavy metal history. That being said, the production isn't the best. The guitar tone wasn't the greatest either. Songwriting was a little rudimentary. Just fast-paced, new wave of heavy British heavy metal-esque songs. But it's still a killer record. I love the Four Horsemen. I love Phantom Lord, No Remorse, Whiplash. It's got classics on here too, Hit the Lights and Seek and Destroy. I think it will comfortably go in B, if we're being real. Next up, we got really just the highest jumping quality, in my opinion, in terms of songwriting, production, just tone and sound. I can go on and on about so many of these albums for days and days. Ride the Lightning is awesome. It's easily one of the best Metallica albums. I go back and forth between a couple of them just endlessly because they're that good. I'll never forget the first time I heard Fight Fire with Fire. When I was first getting into Metallica, as a wee lad, I wanted to hear more than just what my dad was playing, or what I would hear on the radio, or what would be their hits, or whatever. And so, listening to Fight Fire with Fire for the first time, I became obsessed. And that's not even the only banger on here. The title track is great. For Whom the Bell Tolls, Fade to Black, Creeping Death. I really like the Call of Cthulhu as well, but the S&M version, far superior than the one on this album. The riffs, the solos, it's all really just top notch, and it's got that spacey reverb production that really adds to the atmosphere of the album. It's great. This doesn't go anywhere but S tier. Then they follow that up with a masterpiece. It really needs no introduction. Battery is one of the greatest opening songs of all time. It goes so hard. That bridge section with the double bass, it's just a hardcore beat down. It's so great. The title track is a classic. It's a masterpiece. They even overlook songs like Disposable Heroes and The Thing That Should Not Be. Super heavy. This album's a masterpiece. And it also doesn't go anywhere else but S. Then after that we have their follow-up, Injustice for All. You know it. The album with One on it. And it also opens up with one of the coolest friggin' thrash songs of all time, Blackened. But to be real, there's an even better song, an even better thrasher piece that ends off the album, Dyer's Eve. Easily one of the best thrash songs of all time. Yeah, honestly, this is my favorite Metallica album. Sure, there's no bass, there's infamously no bass. That's all in the rhythm guitar and Lars's kick drums. This is the best drumming on any Metallica album, aside from Saint Anger, which is probably a controversial take, but fight me about it. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, the title track is some of my favorite Metallica riffs. Sure, the Straw goes hard. I love the Freight Ends of Sanity, and To Live Is to Die is just a really well crafted instrumental. Yeah, love the shit of this album. S tier. Then we have one of the greatest selling albums of all time, Metallica's Self-Titled. Honestly, since this is the album that so many normies flock to, and die-hard Metallica fans don't really look at and go, oh yeah, this is the Metallica I want to listen to. It really does have a lot of great songs on it. I actually got to see this whole album played from back to front at Aftershock 2021. In fact, I'm wearing a Aftershock 2021 shirt right here. It used to be black, but after it went in the wash, the black disappeared because it's a bootleg shirt. That's what I get. Yeah, honestly, biggest songs ever made. It's some of the greatest songs ever made. Nothing Else Matters. Enter Sandman, which is who doesn't know that song? But even killer cuts like Holier Than Thou, Of Wolf and Man, My Friend of Misery, easily one of my favorite Metallica songs. The God That Failed, and Don't Tread on Me are also both really killer tracks. And of course, Sad But True is one of the heaviest songs ever made. It's so great. And one of my personal favorites, The Unforgiven. It's so good. It's a great album from front to back, honestly. You know, in so many ways, I feel like it's an S tier album. But at the same time, it's still not a go-to for me. It's easily the best produced Metallica album, and one of the best produced albums, period, of all time. But personally, when it comes to my taste, the Metallica that I go back to and like I flock to, it's not quite it, but I still love and respect it. So I'm going to put it in A. Then, 1996 came around. Metallica dropped the biggest WTF at that point in metal history, you know? Loathe is a very interesting album. Like I was talking about with the Black Album, stripped back songwriting, even more so on Loathe and Reload. Definitely not songs I go back to often, but that isn't to say that there isn't a lack of great songs here. In particular, Bleeding Me comes to mind, Until It Sleeps, The Outlaw Torn, and Mama Said. Like, they actually pulled that off really well. Some of the best vocals, like clean singing from James on these albums too. Even Hero of the Day, like, has some really heavy parts on it. Like, I really dig that track. I could go without hearing King Nothing ever again. I don't care about Poor Twisted Me or Wasting My Hate or like Thorn Within's a really forgettable track. Overall, it's not bad. It's not a bad album. I'll go ahead and put it in C. A year later, they follow up and like there's still the same quality of songs from Load. A bit edgier this time. There's like some more down-tuned songs like Better Than You, Devil's Dance, which are killer tracks, honestly. Of course, you got The Memory Remains, Fuel. I really like The Unforgiven too. Like, that's a really fine track right there. And I've always really appreciated Low Man's lyric as well. I think Fixer's a pretty cool track. But overall, not much here I really go back to at all. Like, everything else is very, very mid. So I think I'll put it in C. So this particular tier list thingamajig included Garage Inc., which is all cover songs. And let me tell you, like in 1998, in retrospect, this is very much needed for them. Like, hey, we just put out these very commercial albums that have slow grooves, bluesy elements. They're, you know, these hard rock albums essentially. Let's show you where we come from, and they showed us. Yeah, the first disc is all new recordings at the time, and the pummeling cover of Free Speech for the Dumb by Discharge opens it up, and they ended off with a Discharge cover of The More I See. Real heavy, like the tone that they got just for the first disc is great, and that's of course where Whiskey in the Jar comes from. Other great covers too, like It's Electric and Merciful Fate. Really cool medley, as well as Astronomy. I actually really dug that track a lot. Then you have Disc 2, which is a collection of recordings from the 80s up to the 90s. It even includes the 1987 EP that they put out with Jason Newsted just before Injustice for All. Kick-ass songs. Helpless, obviously a Diamond Head cover. They also cover Am I Evil by Diamond Head, which is like, it's easily like one of the best songs Metallica ever put to tape. Like, even though it's not their song, they made it their song. It just kicks so much ass. It doesn't really get old either. And there are other killer songs too. The Weight comes to mind. Crash Course and Brain Surgery. Bread Fan is one of my personal favorites. The Prince, just lightning speed, killer song. And then a whole collection of Motorhead covers to round out the album. Garage Inc. is going to go up in A. Okay, I'm going to drop some hot takes for you guys about Saint Anger. The production sounds like crap. The snare sounds dumb. The vocals are out of tune. There's a lot of uninteresting guitar parts. Lack of guitar solos. The songs are way too long. You could have easily cut, like trimmed the whole album down by 15 minutes. And I think this album would have benefited from that greatly. Some weird ideas here and there, some cringe lyrics. But I think performance-wise, this is some of Lars's most creative drumming since And Justice for All. The title track comes to mind, Sweet Amber, All Within My Hands, easily one of my favorite songs on here, where he's just really doing different stuff with the drums that's actually interesting compared to the last couple albums. And sure, I can do without Invisible Kid, which does kind of go hard, but it's way, way, way too long, and it just awkwardly, clumsily chugs along. Not structured the best. Don't care about Purify. Some Kind of Monster is okay, but it's just too long. I think Should Be Again is a decent track. But when it comes to highlights for me, like I said, All Within My Hands is a killer track. I think The Unnamed Feeling is actually a pretty effective for like just a moody ballad-esque track, honestly. And then Frantic, the album opener, is easily one of my favorite Metallica songs of all time. Like maybe top 5. It just goes so hard. The riffs are great. The way it progresses, it just comes together just so well from beginning to end. And I cannot believe I got to see them play that live at Aftershock. That was amazing. I am going to put Saint Anger. I'll put in D. That's kind of where it belongs. Then we have the big comeback in 2008, Death Magnetic. I remember when this came out, like it was so hyped. The Day That Never Comes was playing all over the radio. Then you start hearing Cyanide on the radio too, and eventually Broken, Beaten, Scarred. And yeah, there's really a lot of great songs here. You heard All Nightmare Long on the radio too. I think that's easily the best song on here. If I'm speaking like more, I guess, objectively. But yeah, there's a lot more thrash on this. This is like harkening back to Injustice for All, but the production, just like Injustice for All, kind of sucks. The drums don't sound very good. Everything's really compressed and overly loud. But there are good songs on here. Like I said, All Nightmare Long is fantastic. Cyanide's great. My Apocalypse is good. Suicide Redemption. But yeah, other than that, not too much. I do want to mention, though, The Unforgiven 3 is my favorite track off this album, hands down. Absolutely love that song. That's probably a top 5 Metallica song for me personally. I think that song really came together well. Like that was very much a surprise when this album dropped. I think I'm going to put Death Magnetic in B. So Lulu is on here, but I really don't consider this as much as a Metallica album as I do a Lou Reed album. So if I'm judging this as just strictly a Metallica album, it's going in F. I mean, it's a neat experiment that didn't pay off. I don't think it's terrible. There are definitely like really, really cringe moments within the first few songs or so. But as a whole, it was just weirdly executed. It's a strange novelty, I'll just say that. We have 2016's Hardwired to Self-Destruct. When that first single dropped, Hardwired, so hype. So hype. It was like just before the 2016 election too, so it was like it really just spoke to everybody at the time. Like, we're so out of luck. Hardwired to Self-Destruct. And it's just a thrash rager, dude. Like, it's what an opener, honestly. It was really refreshing, you know. And like, the thing about this album in particular is that the production is far better, far superior to Death Magnetic. So, in many ways, this album is better than Death Magnetic. However, it's kind of not at the same time. It is very bloated. I don't really care about Am I Savage or Here Comes Revenge or Now That We're Dead or Confusion. I mean, they're very, very okay songs. Nothing more. I think Mankind is actually pretty catchy. Like, if I'm being real, I don't mind that song at all, even though Lars really made the drums as boring as he possibly could for that song. Same goes for Murder One, which I have the same feelings about overall. But everything else, pretty fire. Hail and Fire is a bit long, but Atlas Rise kicks ass. Moth and the Flame kicks ass. Dream No More is like the sad but true of this century. That song kicks ass. I really couldn't get enough of that song for a while off of this album. And of course, Spit Out the Bone is the biggest highlight of the album for sure. This will go up in B for me. Okay, so we have the newest Metallica album here, 72 Seasons. 72 Seasons. I was hyped when I heard Lux Eterna for the first time. It was cool when that dropped. Then Screaming Suicide came out, and I was like, okay, this is a solid track. I can kind of get into it. Then If Darkness Had a Sun dropped, and I was like, is this just Hardwired but slow? What's going on here? The most basic, simple, rudimentary drum beat of all time. Cool riffs, cool progression. James kills it, but again, too long. This album basically has like every single problem that they've been dealing with the past 3 album cycles or so. The songs are too long, and a lot of them really just don't go anywhere, but at the same time, they have really cool riffs and are engaging enough to where that's a song, I guess. It didn't really feel like enough focus and love and care went into making these songs more impactful, but at the same time, they are cohesive, they are engaging, they are fun, they do rock. I've only listened to the album twice now, but Crown of Barbed Wire still stands out. I like the chorus for that. Riffs are a bit unique, like the progression of them, I guess. Inopmerata would have been way cooler, like if they tuned that down and rewrote the whole thing in C sharp, like in drop C sharp, because it almost sounds like a sludge track, like almost. It's like almost there, but it's just way too long. Too Far Gone's really cool, straight to the point. That track was actually pretty impressive. Room of Mirrors is really good. A lot of introspection on this album from James, which I welcome. But I was really looking forward, like, because I saw outlets talking about this album and how this is the most vulnerable we've ever seen James. So I was looking to hear like a compelling ballad or two on this album, and there's really none here. It's all basically thrashy rockin' tracks, you know, which is a shame because I like hearing more like I have to be a Metallica fan that likes hearing the more vulnerable side of James Hetfield, more stripped back songs, more ballad-esque type songs like friggin' Mama Said or Unforgiven or Fade to Black or The Unforgiven 3. Hell, I don't even think Hardwired to Self-Destruct had any songs like that. Yeah, I mean, overall, the album was solid, but I really, really wanted more out of it. Lars wasn't terrible, but of course he was just painting by numbers. Kirk's solos seemed kind of all over the place and phoned in. Like, I'd say that Kirk was, like, unfortunately, Kirk was, like, the weakest link for this whole album, because, like, very few of his leads and solos I, like, actually, like, enjoyed. But honestly, James killed it. Like, he's still killed it with his voice. And a lot of the riffs on here are still pretty solid. Kind of basic at some points, but still effective. Overall, I'm going to have to put 72 Virgins in C. I mean 72 Seasons. Sorry. Alright, and there we have it. Zoom in a bit more so you can see. There's our S tier. There's our A. There's our B. C. D. And F. Alright. So you guys think this is it for Metallica? Is this their last album? Or do you think we're actually going to get another album down the line in the future? Hopefully not 6 years out from now, that's for sure. If you enjoyed this, or if you didn't, subscribe. Please hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss a video. Leave a comment. What did you think of this tier list? How would you organize your personal tier list? What did you think of 72 Seasons? Let me know your thoughts down below. Or not, you know, it just doesn't matter. As long as you enjoy. Okay, so Lulu is on here, but here's the thing. It's not really a Metallica album as much as it is... Okay. So Lulu... Alright. Then we have...